Hi, Chris again. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some ugly plants and we're going to rehabilitate them. This time of the year, it's August, frankly many times a year, but especially the summer months, you can visit a small nursery, even some of the box stores, and you can find some really beaten down berry plants, and to them it's a huge liability. If it's a small nursery or medium independent nursery, they paid out money for it. If it's a box store, well, they only pay the grower for it after they get paid. And it's called pay per scam. But in any event, they still may want to give you a deal on it, and it's a great deal for you. Just haggle them down to next to nothing. I have a few plants here that got forgotten about in my space, and so I'm going to prune them up real quick. They're blueberry plants. You would know that. Look at them because they're hideous, but they are great value because they're going to be flowering and fruiting next season. And in the meantime, that container is going to start making some beautiful cucumbers. You're going to get used in the kitchen fairly quickly. So I'm going to get in here. I'm going to look for anything that's dried out. If it's got some life in it, little bud here, I'm going to cut way above it. I don't want to cut too low, just going to help dehydrate that branch even more. Sorry I'm having to use my non-cutting hand. I like to use my left hand for cutting, but I've tweaked it really bad unloading some trees. So I'm a little clumsy on the cutting right now. Yeah, I got a little bit of leaf structure up here. It's going to go through here and deadwood out the worst of it. We'll come back in a month and fine prune it some more. Got a little bud growing out right here, nice 1.5 inch growth. This is going to be full of blueberries next season. Again, ugly as hell plant being rejuvenated. It's going to have a great second life in our container garden. All the water and fertilizer being put in there for the cucumbers going to get also used up by the blueberry. Each of the containers is an upper story plant and then lower story herbs and vegetables. Okay, I'm going to pull it out of the pot. If you want everything to fit together, please, if you're mad at your boss, somebody in the neighborhood, it's a great time to get it out. Just sit there and beat the tar out of it. Actually going to help stimulate the roots. It's going to tear off a little bit of this also, and it's going to help fit it in the container. Got a huge chunk of extra root down here. Literally just going to tear it off. Trust me, this will wind up on a plant really taking off. Please don't do this with roses or bougainvillea in the summertime. Well, don't do it with bougainvillea at all. But this berry plant, no problem. You can even see, once you get in there, really dry. It takes a lot of water to keep a container plant healthy. I already got one that I started on the other day. And get them both in here. Blueberries love organic matter. Matter of fact, you're not going to grow a good blueberry in just dirt alone. It's practically an all compost, all mulch plant. Visit a blueberry grower in the next few days and we'll see that in action. Keep your knife handy. In my case, I got my handy ladybug knives. Cutting for bags and stuff when I'm harvesting. Take this Kellogg's Amend or finer, medium planting mix. Get it in here. Again, blueberries love to be planted in nothing more than a slightly acidic compost. We're going to have to add some soil sulfur to this. right up here on the crown of the root system. So we've got a nice twofer blueberry bush planter. Only for a couple months out of the year it's going to give us fruit. In the meantime, we want this container working for some other purposes. So what I've got are some cucumber starters. 2 of these will be more than enough to put cukes in the kitchen. Beautiful white roots. You buy your vegetable transplants at the nursery, pop the container off and look at the roots. If a plant this small is full of brown roots, just leave it there. This has got beautiful white roots, healthy, growing. Just gonna mess them up a little bit. Get it in here to our container. Gonna try and get it right up in the root zone of the blueberries. Plant a little bit deeper. Again, excellent white root growth, fresh root growth, evidenced by the white roots. Get in on the other side here. Cucumber vines are fairly vigorous growing. They are going to fill up this container. We'll probably wind up with cukes just hanging off the side. We'll see how it works. If the sides prove to be a little sharp, just going to add a little bit of mulch, more mulch to the sides as the days go by. We'll see. Again, this is a learning project for me and the audience. I want a vegetable garden, but my soil is horrible, and I don't want the dog running around through the vegetables. Also great if you're in a condominium or apartment. So you've got the fine planting mixes in there. Yeah, it's about 95 degrees today, with a little tad on the warm side. Just want to give a little bit of fertilizer start to this. I'm going to take a garden trowel on my Grow Power, nice 5-3-1 humic acid blend. Blueberries are a high feeding plant, but we're just getting things started in the container right now. Don't want to go overboard. Got my nice perfected Peruvian bird poop at a 12 2.5. Really good solid starter formula. Put a few of those tablets in here. And I've got my bone meal. Between the bird poop and the bone meal, I'm going to wind up with excellent stem development, flower strength, and a lot of good fruit. The nitrogen's just to push the foliage. My assistant gonna find a way to go turn on the hose, since we forgot to get that done before we started the video. As you can see, we're starting with a very raw yard. I'll lightly water in everything. Careful if you're turning on the hose and you haven't had it on in a little while. If a warm to hot day out, it may burn the hell out of your plants. Fortunately, I've been doing a lot of watering all day today. Just as with the other containers, this is potting mix right out of the bag. Has really very little water in it. Some of the mixes will have no water in them, or very, very, very little. So I'm going to get that hose deep down in here, give it a nice container enema, and get it really nice and wet. Got to remember those blueberry plants, just beat the hell out of them. Root systems are bone dry. We come back and look at this container in about 2 weeks, we're going to see some blueberries really taking off. Plants that might have cost you $18 or $24 at the nursery, you can go on and ask these guys at Independent Nursery, hey, that thing's not doing anything for you, how about $5 or $3? You know, just start out low and work your way up. It's a total loss for them. That would apply in the summertime for most of the roses too. Small retailer not going to be able to get rid of many of their roses. Make them a deal, especially if you need a few plants at a time. My cukes have very small root balls. I'm going to be sure to get them really wet. They're going to be drowning in water for the next couple of days. Again, this container is not going to be overwatered until we have water oozing out of the holes at the bottom. And even then, there'll be pockets of dry soil in here. Very, very important to jet your pots. It might be very important to jet all your potted plants going into the ground once they're in there. The number one problem people have is dehydrating plant material. They've got this nice and wet. We'll spray it down. While it is really good and wet, I'm going to take a little scoop of gypsum, get it in there, have it start getting to work. Gypsum only works well when it's got a lot of water to leach it through, help leach it through. This is not going to hurt the plants. This is going to save the plants from salt burns. Especially the more organic material you use, it's going to have a lot of salt. Please do not use any mushroom compost. That and steer manure are the worst things you can do to put in with your vegetables. You can get fresh out of the butt horse poop, great. Composted horse poop, even better. Do not use the cow or steer manure. It's just really full of salt. And we'll visit a dairy to show you what you get when you buy cow or steer manure. You will never want it again. You may not drink milk again. We've got this thing just about right for now. The water's going to settle over the next day, over the rest of the day. We're going to have to come back and add some more mulch to it. That is our blueberry and cucumber container. You can make a squash plant in here. You can put some other smaller herbs, but with what I'm working with, I decided I wanted my cukes in here right now. We'll get on to another planter in another video in a moment.